Hey Angel, welcome back to Your Own University TV, where we're going to talk about what sets you apart from everybody else, because you matter. On today's episode, we are going to talk about the cosmos and what happens when this full moon comes into play and Mars is acting up and you're having solar flares happen in the sun, and how it affects us as humans and what you can expect as a sensitive person, a light worker, a healer, and somebody who, quite frankly, would be listening to my show. So I don't know about you, but I have been exhausted lately, meaning like totally tired. My physical body, mental body, emotional body just wiped out the last couple days. And it didn't really make sense to my own personal life. So I was like, what the blank is going on? So if you're feeling like this right now, you're in the normal. So things are happening in the cosmos. And when things happen in the cosmos, it affects us. It affects Mother Earth. It affects the whole entire world as we know it. And so to pretend like it doesn't affect us is really shortchanging yourself from living your best life. So today I hope to just shine some light on what happens each and every month when we go through the new moon and the full moon cycle, what happens when different planets move around us and our pull, the electromagnetic pull shifts around the Earth as the planets move. I also want to talk a bit about the solar flares, because there's a lot of solar flares happening right now. Our sun is acting up and doing some funky shit. And so if you follow what's happening in the sun, you'll notice, or you'll see on Facebook or something like that, that, oh, solar flares. And if you feel a little bit off, if you feel like things are shifting and changing in your body, you're right. So there's a lot of people in our circle that are light workers. Maybe you consider yourself a light worker, maybe you consider yourself an empath, maybe you consider yourself a healer. And what that means is that you have an acute awareness that you are so much more than meets the eye, right? You've had some esoteric experiences in your life. Maybe you went through a trauma and you went through an out-of-body experience. Maybe you've spent a lot of your childhood in an out-of-body experience, kind of looking down on your reality. That's what I did. And finally, when I got home into my body and began to reseed souls into their physical form so we can manifest and live in this world, I was like, wow, this is a completely different reality. And so when we go through one of those awakening experiences, be it through trauma or through a spiritual awakening of some sort, or even through hallucinogens, as I have been really studying deeper into the beginnings of transpersonal psychology. And, they did a ton of tests, for better or for worse. I don't really agree with them. That's my own personal take. But they did some tests around how we can put ourselves in those altered states of consciousness that allows us to open up to the unseen. Well, guess what? The Earth and the magnetic field around the Earth and the sun and the solar rays all do the same thing for us. So each month we have two opportunities, the new moon and the full moon, to take advantage of the shift and the change. But sometimes things happen. So in this case, my friend told me yesterday that I was exhausted and teary-eyed and emotional, and yes, like it's the perfect storm right now. We have the new moon, we have the solar flares, and I guess Mars, something happened with Mars, which I don't know much about that. The specifics of the planets, it's not been my gig, not been my thing, but I know that when they shift, I feel it. Right? So when my friends that are really into it tell me, I'm like, oh, that makes sense because I was just there. So maybe you're the same way as me. So if something happened with Mars, so you can look that up. But what happens with the solar flares and the sun is a really big deal. And I recommend paying attention to what's happening with the moon and the sun. Because when the sun acts up, when it starts getting super heated, when it begins to give off extra rays and solar flares, and those solar flares, the energy is coming towards the earth. It's like a wave. And there's wonderful documentaries on this, including ones the kids watch in school about how we can't see these rays, but we feel them. The earth feels these rays. And as humans, we feel them. So we might get more agitated. You might get tired. Your body begins to shift. It shifts you on a cellular level, just like an x-ray, right? Just like you don't go and get a whole bunch of x-rays. You don't go and get 1,000 mammograms because it's gonna shift things, right? Well, the sun does the same thing for us. So it's gonna shift things. So when this happens, oftentimes we push through it. We make ourselves wrong for being tired because it's not a comfortable feeling. We make ourselves wrong for being sensitive or teary-eyed, and we make it mean something. So for me, if you follow me on Facebook, you might notice like yesterday I was in a very tired state. I went to teach yoga, and the first class, nobody showed up, so I got to take a nap, which I desperately needed. My body, my physical body was in exhaustion. So instead of making myself wrong for being tired, I just recognized it, and then I did what I needed to do, shame and guilt-free, meaning I took a nap. Then I did a beautiful yoga practice. I felt a little bit better. Then I knew that plants, being with Mama Earth, was going to be super, super important to me and getting into nature. However, I wasn't sure what that would look like. I didn't have the energy back yet. It was being drained from me to go on a hike or anything. I just wanted to be, well, I stopped by my best friend's house and we went and I got to hang out with plants, right? And I was seriously crying because the baby plants coming to life in this spring filled me up. Now, what I had to do is allow that feeling to happen, meaning I got to stop and say, okay, yes, I receive your life force. I receive this energy. I receive this feeling because the rays from the sun and the full moon and everything had drained me dry. I didn't have a reason for this. I didn't know why I was crying, but I was teared up with the gratitude I felt for these little plants, these little lives, and for the compassion and connection I felt with my friend, right? So it doesn't have to be a depression if you feel depressed, right? I felt tired and depressed. It didn't have to be a depression. It can be an awareness that you have with yourself to take that time to fill up, to know what fills you up. So that goes back to last week's video about what do you like, right? What do you want? What fills your cup? For me, it's totally nature. Like nature's a big one for me. Yoga's a big one for me. Water's a big one for me. And just like resting sometimes is a big one for me because I don't rest very well. Other big things happen in our lives that we might feel like is every day. Like yesterday, I got my book published. So if you want to go to Amazon and get All In, the Yoga Sutras and the Bible Study, you can. It's there. So I got it published. I got it back saying it's done and you can buy it now. And I was like, oh, right, this is big energy. But when you have a big project and you're pushing that out into the world, it's draining. And so allowing that sensitivity to come in and respecting that in yourself is truly important for your self-care. So have you done a big project lately? Have you accomplished something that felt really great to you? It doesn't have to be huge, something that's big for you, right? Have you gone through a shift in your life where you might be a little bit more sensitive to the subtleties of what's happening in our galaxy, what's happening with our sun, what's happening with our moon, what's happening with the planets around us? And have you taken all of that into account when it comes to why you might be feeling tired or agitated or irritable, why you might be being triggered to release things, old habits, limitations, and ideas that no longer serve you? How can you do that? Because right now, as all of this energy is activated within you and everything is draining out, and the full moon is coming into be this next Saturday, and if you're listening to this later on, we're going to have a full moon pretty soon, I'm sure. Keep coming. Then ask yourself, like, what is coming to the surface? What is filling up in me that's ready to be released and let go as we go into that new moon cycle? And can you just let it go? Is it okay just to let it go? Is it okay just to let yourself rest? Is it okay to feel that depression and allow yourself to cry those tears? Sometimes just a really great cry for no reason at all, or all the reason in the world, will reset your entire system and allow you to be full and free yet again. So this is today's video. I want you to be aware of everything that you are, because your soul might not be affected by the cosmos. Your soul might not be affected by the cosmos, but your body, your mind, your emotional body, and your esoteric body, your etheric body are definitely affected by what is happening in the cosmos, as what is happening in the earth. So pay attention to the sun and the moon. Pay attention to your own earth cycles and dive into that. If you would like to know more about the cycles and how they work with you and your own paradigm, go ahead and set up a next step session with me at lishaantica.com. If you are not yet part of our community at Your Own University, join Your Own University. Go over there and get our 365 days of love, and you'll be introduced to some of our master classes with some wonderful coaches over there. So I love you so much. Thank you for being a part of Your Own University TV, and I will talk to you next time.